Welcome back to Organizational Behavior. Again, I'm Demetrius Wilson, and I will be your guide. We're now in Chapter 3, learning about individual differences and perception. Our learning objectives for the chapter are to define personality and how it affects work behaviors, understand the role of values in determining work behaviors, explain the process of perception and how it affects work behaviors, understand how individual differences affect ethics, and understand cross-cultural influences on individual differences and perception. And you see the word perception in there mentioned quite a few times. Remember, I'm sure you've heard the term perception is reality. Because in the workplace, a lot of times what someone perceives is what is reality to them. Not necessarily saying that that is the right thing, but that is reality in the workplace. So fit. Are you a good fit for your organization? Is the organization a good fit for you? So you have person-organization fit. The degree to which a person's values, personality, goals, and other characteristics match those of the organization. Maybe you are a great fit. Maybe some individuals are not, and they're just faking it till they make it and possibly move on to another company. Person-job fit. So not only are you a good fit for the company, are you a good fit for the actual job that you're doing. The degree to which a person's skill, knowledge, abilities, and other characteristics match the job demands. So just a quick discussion. So they ask, how can a company assess person-job fit before hiring the employees? Typically, I'll skip by the discussion questions, but wanted to mention a couple of these. So I just want you guys to think back what type of assessment tests you've taken before being hired by an employer. I've taken the Wonderlic test, which I think is a very good test for employers to use. Maybe a little tough, but I think it's a very good assessment tool. What are the methods you think would be helpful? How can a company determine person-organization fit before hiring employees? Well, I think using that test is a good start. And what organizations can do to increase person-job and person-organization fit after they hire the employee. And one company that I was at, they did a really good program of onboarding. They kind of brought everybody in, kept you in there for 2 weeks, and tried to get you kind of entwined with their culture. Had you even read a book that they were kind of following. So I think that works out very well. Values. So values refer to stable life goals that people have, reflecting what is most important to them. Right? What are your core values? What's most important to you? Is the environment most important to you? Is family most important to you? Is work possibly most important to you? And so obviously you have different types of values. You have terminal values and instrumental values are the main ones that they're always going to speak of. So in terminal value section you have a world of beauty, an exciting life, family security, inner harmony, and self-respect. Right? These terminal values are going to be there. They're going to be there forever. Instrumental values are more ones that are more operational. So broad-minded, clean, forgiving, imaginative, obedient. All right, different types of values, but the terminal values are one that you want for the entire longevity. We all want a world of beauty. We all want an exciting life, inner harmony, self-respect, and family security. None of those things I would kick off of that list. Personality, right? You hear the song. He's got personality. So personality encompasses the relatively stable feelings, thoughts, and behavioral patterns a person have. And it says relatively because someone's personality could be one way, and sometimes things happen in the workplace and they could go off the handle and display some other type of personality traits. I tend to try to be even keel and consistent in my personality, not get too emotional about things that I may be displeased with in the workplace. So the big five personality traits, right? Not the big five accounting firms because it's no longer big five, it's big four. So trait, openness, description, curious, original, intellectual, creative, and open to new ideas. Have to be open to new ideas. If you're not open to new ideas, you'll stay complacent. You'll eventually become replaced in the workplace. Conscientiousness, organized, systematic, punctual, achievement-oriented, and dependable. Right? I think people really don't put enough importance on being dependable. Right? Are you there when I need you? right? I put a great importance of people or importance on people being dependable in my work environment. Extroversion. Are you outgoing, talkative, sociable, enjoys being in social situations? So typically, to be a fairly decent manager, you're going to have to be somewhat outgoing because you're going to have to speak with your people. I'm not necessarily saying you have to be, Johnny Go Happy and jump around the office and high five everybody and come in and do the Ric Flair woo. But you have to have some type of outgoing skills, be able to speak with your individuals in a cohesive and calm and likable manner. But some individuals are that high five person, and it definitely works great for them. But some people just don't like that. A lot of people sometimes they'll tell you to turn it down a notch. I've been told to turn it down a notch quite a few times, and I'll probably be told that when I go to work today. Agreeableness, nice, tolerant, sensitive, trusting, kind, and warm. Those are good quality traits to have. When you think of a corporate environment, you may think that some of those may not fit, but all in all, as a person, as a human being in life, they definitely fit, and you should stay true to who you are, even in your work environment. Neuroticism, anxious, irritable, aggressive, temperamental, and moody. A lot of times people say, oh, hey, that's my manager, that's my boss. Well, a lot of times it's because they are put under extreme pressure, and those positions drive them towards that. So you have to be that individual that kind of stops the trend and says, you know what, I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to be a totally different individual. Like they say, it rolls downhill. I like to say that I'll stop it from rolling downhill any further than me. I won't pass a bad attitude on to my employees. So the Myers-Briggs type indicator, a lot of you may have taken this personality assessment or test when you've attempted to get employment somewhere. So that they have the dimension on the left-hand side. You have E and I. The E and I is the first word for in each column. So E is for extroversion, those who derive their energy from other people and objects, right? They're up, they're excited because they're dealing with other people. And introversion, those who derive their energy from inside. Maybe they're thinkers, they don't talk a lot, but they do a lot. S and N, sensing. Those who rely on their five senses to perceive the external environment, right? So you only believe what you see. If I can't see it, then I don't believe it. Intuition, those who rely on their intuition and hunches to perceive the external environment. Which one's right? Well, you have to have a little bit of both. You have to have some of that intuition or mother's intuition, or have hunches that you may know and follow. And you also have to depend on your senses, because you have to know what reality is as well. Thinking, those who use their logic to arrive at solutions. Are you pragmatic? Are you analytical? Do you think 1, 2, 3, 4? Or are you in the feeling category, and those who use their values and ideas about what is right and wrong to arrive at a solution? I deal with that every day, and you have to have be at a happy medium. You can't be too analytical, and you can't be too far on the feeling side. It doesn't work out. You have to be somewhere in the middle where you can analyze things, and you can also feel things as well, and also know what your employees feel, so you don't just downplay their feelings. I've had I won't say I've had a struggle with that in the past, but I'm not an individual that's full bent on feelings, and sometimes I have to kind of take a step back and look at my employees and say, okay, well, how are they feeling? And I have to listen to them and be attentive to their needs, even if I think that their feelings are silly. Judgment and perception. Those who are organized, systematic, and would like to have clarity and closure. And perception, those who are curious, open-minded, and prefer to have some ambiguity. I'm not too curious in the workplace. A lot of times things are going on like, oh, who's going to get hired here? Who's going to this? Who's going to that? I say, you know what? I can only control my box. My box is the cubicle that I work in, and I control what goes on in here. And everything else, I'll let the chips fall where they may. Because if I do what's most important in this box, then all the end results and everything else is going to fall into place for me. So again, back to your toolbox, and that toolbox is getting very large, very populated, very full. Maybe you're going to have to go out and buy a bigger toolbox. So help. I work with a negative person. So One, you have to understand that you are unlikely to change someone else's personality. It's not going to happen. You could do your best. You could try a little bit. I've tried before in the past. But you have to know and understand that that person's that way for a reason. Leave them that way. Doesn't mean you have to fully avoid them, but don't invest too much time in them because their negativity will bring you down. I can guarantee you that. Keep an open mind. Always have an open mind. There's always new things. There's always different ways. A lot of times people look for just the right answer. I want to find the right answer and I'm good to go. It's a thing called the second right answer, and you can look it up. Just because you found an answer to your solution or a solution to your problem doesn't mean that's the best solution to your problem. So why don't you go and try and find additional solutions? Maybe you find a second right answer. Set a time limit, right? A lot of times you have to set time limits on things like, hey, I'll give this guy up to this date, but after that, I'm giving you no more chances. You may also empower the person to act on the negatives they mention, right? I would definitely not say go have a confrontation session with them and try and counsel them and say, you're too negative for the environment, unless you're a manager and it becomes a situation in which it's affecting other employees. And I've been in that situation before, but you let the manager, and if you are a manager, that goes for you. You have to handle that, and you also have to handle it with kitty gloves, because now you're talking about people's personality and you might have a crying fest. So maybe bring some tissues and ask for specifics, right? Maybe that person is just being very sensitive and the person is not very negative. You just never know. But you have to get the full comprehension of the situation. Other personality traits, you have, I'm just going to take a couple of these for time's sake. Locus of control and self-efficacy. I want to talk about that real quick because there are certain individuals that believe that they have a control or have control over how their future goes. And there are other individuals that say, well, things are just going to happen as they are. I believe I have high locus of control. I feel like, I have a full effect on how my career is going to go. And I've had a full effect over how my career has gone in the past. And I feel like I'll have it in the future as well. But some individuals will say, hey, this is just how it's going to play out. Proactive personality. Are you an individual that goes out there and says, you know what, I don't need the manager to tell me what to do. I know what to do and I'm gonna go do it. And that'll win you the points that you need to move forward in the work environment. Self-monitoring, right? Be able to be that man in the mirror. Look in the mirror and be honest with yourself and say, these are the things that I need to correct. All right. One of my things is I say I make 17.5 mistakes on a daily basis. I haven't met my quota, and that was just one of them. So I don't take it very hard. If I do make a mistake, it's okay. Regroup and move past it. And then self-esteem. Obviously, you have to have a high level of self-esteem working with individuals. I'm not saying super high level of self-esteem where it's just too overbearing, where it's just you got a big mirror at your desk staring at yourself all day. But have good self-esteem. Be a positive person, be in your work environment, smiling, and be happy about your day, and know that you're doing well. So back to your organizational behavior toolbox, there are ways to build your self-confidence so you can take a self-inventory. What am I good at? Let's talk about those things. Set manageable goals. Goals, they need to be manageable. They can't be these outlandish goals like I want to go to Mars tomorrow. Set reasonable goals. Find a mentor. Find somebody who's doing well in the organization and try and have them assist you with laying out a game plan or map something out to show what you need to do to kind of bolster your confidence or anything else in the workplace. Don't judge yourself by your failures. A lot of times we take those failures very, very hard. I messed something up at work yesterday. It took me until probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock to fix it. But I'm not going to judge myself on that failure. I'm going to go back, rectify the situation, and keep moving past it. Until you can feel confident, be sure to act confident, right? Fake it till you make it. Do the best that you can. Use your acting skills. And know when to ignore negative advice. You got to know you're going to get a lot of negative advice in the workplace. That I can guarantee you. And you have to ignore, most of it. I ignore pretty much 90% of what, maybe like 98% of what people tell me in my current work environment. Personality testing and employee selection. Companies such as Kronos and Hogan Assessments conduct pre-employment and personality tests, right? I think they're very, very useful. I don't think that should be the only reason and only way that you judge people, because an interviewer should have some, some common sense and get a good feeling about somebody. But I think they are very, very good for companies to use. So discussion, I want you to read those discussion questions. You'll go over those on your own. Perception is how individuals detect and interpret environmental stimuli, right? I perceive it one way, you perceive it another way. So visual perception. So what do you see when you see that? Do you see 3 red Pac-Mans, or do you see a white triangle sitting on top of 3 circles? I mean, I don't know, right? It's just how you perceive it. Our visual perception goes beyond the information physically available. In this figure, we see the white triangle in the middle, even though it's not really there. Which circle is bigger, right? Can you tell me which one is bigger? The circle on the left appears to be bigger when in fact they're the same size. Well, why does it appear to be bigger? Because it's around other smaller circles, right? You take like a sports analogy, and you take a kid and he's in Pop Warner, he's playing football and he's huge compared to everybody else. Well, when you get a little bit older and you're in high school, it kind of levels out and you're no longer huge. You're just the same as everybody else. So you're going out from being a big fish in a small pond to a big ocean, and all the fish are big. So self-perception, you have self-enhancement bias, self-effacement bias, and a false consensus error. I'll let you guys study those on your own in the book. Social perception, you can look at this cycle as well. It's very simple cycle, but be sure to touch on it. Our perceptions of the environment are influenced by our values, emotions, feelings, and personalities, which in turn influence our actions, right? So our perception influences how we handle things and what we do. Social perception, we have stereotypes. We talked about that last chapter as well. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, I'm never going to do this. I'm going to fail this test. Have an individual, I talk to individuals all the time. Oh, I'm going to fail this test. And then they go fail the test. But then I talk to other individuals and they say, oh, I'm going to do well on this test. And maybe they haven't studied as much and they end up doing well. All right. I took a test a long time ago, and, I went out all night and came in and just had a little bit of sleep, and I went and took the test and I was fully relaxed. I took it and I did great on it. And there were other people there and they were so stressed about taking the test, and I could tell that they didn't do well, and plus they had been there multiple times. It was like their 5th or 6th time for taking the test. And I just went in there and felt relaxed. So my self-fulfilling prophecy is that I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to do great. Right? That's how I feel. I feel I'm going to win every day. And selective perception. What perceptions that come to you, are you selective about those perceptions, or do you accept all the perceptions that you receive from your outside stimuli? So social perception, first impressions are initial thoughts and perceptions we form about people, which tend to be stable and salient to contrary information. That first impression, hey, it's a doozy. I remember I was hired at the same time as a guy at a company. And later on that day, because we're filling out our paperwork at the same time, I said hi to him, and the guy just walked right by me. It's not, we were in a narrow hallway. It's not like he didn't see me. He just walked right by me. And that kind of made me mad. So, my first impression of him was that he was not a good guy, and I'm not going to talk to him, and I'm going to be mad at that guy, for the rest of my career, my tenure there. Circle like 3 years later or whatever, cause of events, he ends up reporting to me. Ends up being a nice guy. He just had a different, kind of crass personality. So you just never know. But that first impression, it's a doozy. So in your organizational toolbox, how can I make a great first impression in the job interview? And yeah, you better make one. The first thing is your first opportunity to make a great impression starts even before the interview, the moment you send your resume. Please, please, please have a good resume. No typos. Have somebody look at it. I've fixed so many resumes that just have things on there that just should not be there. I had a buddy of mine and his name was in like a 72 font. I said, why is your name so large on this resume? You cannot send this to an employer. And coming from somebody who does a lot of interviewing, if your resume doesn't look right and I see something funny about it, I've got a stack of 100 other resumes. I'm just going to throw it in the shredder. Be prepared for the interview. Be prepared. I have so many people that come in and, oh, did you research the company? Oh, well, no, I didn't really get a chance to. No, you're not going to get the job, right? Company's huge. How could you not research it? That makes absolutely no sense. Research the company, right? So when you prepare for your interview, you got to go on Google, research the company, look at what they do, look at their type of company, and know some things about the company. You don't have to be an expert on it, but know some things about the company. When you're invited for an office interview, be sure to dress properly. Now that's the time to wear your best suit, not your skinny jeans, right? And your hat. Be on time to the interview. You have to be on time. If you're late, it's definitely going to be a big problem. You're going to set a terrible first impression. I had one time I almost was late to a job interview. I had a flat tire, but changed the tire and ended up getting there on time. And during the interview, be polite, right? You don't want to, overrun the person and not be polite because they're just going to get turned off by you and they're going to say, forget it, this guy's not getting a shot. So we're going to skip that slide, and you guys can check out attributions on your own. Discussions, also want you to check out the discussion questions. They are very good questions on your own as well. And we'll just end off by looking at these individual differences in ethics. So you have culture, personal values, and your personality all lead into your ethics, and ethics also lead into how you do things ethically or not ethically in the workplace, right? Personality around the globe, self-reported self-esteem. So who's super high about their self-esteem and who's super low? And you look at the different countries, and it's kind of interesting. Of course, USA would be in there on the highest self-esteem, but it's interesting when you look at the ones on the lowest, and then you have to do your research and figure out things about culture and see why are they that way on those ones that have the lowest self-esteem. So if ethical decision making depends partially on personality, what can organizations do to increase the frequency of ethical behaviors? You can have classes, courses, things that show people how they should make decisions and what they should do, and also give them somebody who they can talk to outside of their manager or their manager's manager if they feel like they're in an unethical situation. And do you think personality tests used in Western cultures and employee selection can be used in other cultures? I'm sure they can be used in any culture. I think they work very well. And some companies use them, some companies don't. But I think they can be of a huge benefit. So that ends the lecture for Chapter 3. Hopefully it helps you out. And hopefully you have a good day and a great week.